Good point.
Love it. Oh my.
Good way to start the morning.
Okay. Water.
Woke it up.
Oh, I also need my
Channel.
yeah, you should chat on your phone.
Oh, I might need the app.
Yeah. Do I have a YouTube app on your phone?
And browser.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, well, YouTube app is one of the few apps that like I don't ever have issues. Back here. Right. Ah.
Or what? It's
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna press the intro button and then it'll just start going on its own.
a little bit more.
Alright, cool. Now,
You got me muted.
that's both muted. Is it recording right now? Yep. Both mics in? Oh, I see. Alright, let's try it. There's like a theater wall here. Good morning, my movie loving brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning on the Screen Talk Live YouTube channel, where we talk about all things movie, TV, and more screen-related news. I'm, of course, your humble host, Keith Toothman. I'm joined today by filmmaker, director, producer, and all-around amazing human being, Shane Wallace. Shane, how are you doing on this lovely morning?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's glad to be part of the very first show. This is super exciting.
Awesome. Awesome. So the way we like to do things around here is we like to go over a few main topics, and then if we have any chats at the end, we'll go over those, review them, and take some of you guys' comments and questions. And don't forget, if you're new around here, to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you have, your movie news when you need it, where you need it. And one of the first things we're going to get talking about today is Avatar. So Shane, as you know, over the weekend they re-released Avatar. Me and my beautiful wife went to go see it, and it just wasn't the way I remembered it. Like, it wasn't. It's not a bad movie. I wouldn't say Avatar's a bad movie, but it's just not as. I don't feel like it holds up as well as I thought it would. There was a little 2 minute, little teaser at the end that gave us a little look into Avatar 2, and I mean, it looked amazing. It really did. Like, it stood out completely from the film, and you could tell that there's a big difference between the two of them. But still, Avatar just wasn't that great. But over at the weekend box office, it did pretty well, and it's just pushing it further. So now it's over $2.9 billion made at the box office, and over the weekend itself, it made $10 million at the box office. So it did pretty well. I mean, we'll talk about Smile here in a little bit, as it did $22 million. I mean, it took the most at the box office. So $10 million isn't bad for a movie that at the top of the box office is at $22 million, and Avatar's at 10 for a movie that came out in 2009. I mean, it's pretty impressive, and it just shows you that people are buzzing about Avatar, and we talk about often as film fans about the hype that we have for movies, and the question is, with all these Marvel movies and all these things we've had over the years, there's always kind of some hype behind them. But the question with Avatar is there any hype behind Avatar 2? I mean, does anybody really care anymore? It's been so long. I mean, the movie came out in 2009. It comes out this December. It'll almost be 2023. I mean, it's been over 10 years. I mean, Shane, what's your opinion on what's your hype for Avatar 2? I know you've recently seen the trailer. Is it something you're looking forward to? And how do you feel that people feel about it?
Did they wait too long? Honestly, I think they probably waited long enough. I wasn't the biggest fan of Avatar when it first came out. It was gorgeous. It looked great. It was an okay story. It was a fun popcorn movie. Key, you're about 9 years younger than I am, so when you first saw it, it makes sense why you jumped out of your chair. You're a young kid, you've never seen it. I was this jaded 20-year-old who thought I knew everything. So, of course, I was all smug about it. But I was very upset that James Cameron has spent the last 2 decades working on Avatar 2 for a movie, for a sequel I didn't think was needed or nor I cared about. But I gotta say, the wait has been so long that I'm excited again. I'm actually kind of excited to see Avatar 2, and it looked really good. And I think that the fact that it took so long to come out is building up that anticipation.
I just think that it looks really good. I know you didn't have the chance to see it in the IMAX 3D form, and I know you and honestly I both could give a damn about a 3D movie, but it is just like I said, it was a very noticeable difference. I mean, I think just that last little 2 minute thing got me at least enough excited to want to go out and see Avatar 2. I mean, it is very shocking to me that I mean, it also pulled in 40 million worldwide over the weekend, which is just a ton of money. And it is a little shocking to me that, I mean, it didn't have a ton of competition. I mean, Smile isn't something that, we've all heard about. Bros was another thing at the box office that we hadn't heard too much about. And the marketing for those things aren't, going to be like an Avatar 2 or Avatar 1, which really is the marketing for Avatar 2. And so I'm just, it's impressive to see. I mean, keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who's, I went out and seen the re-release. So, and I do think that it is a little bit of a improvement with the 4K restoration. It looks good. It looks better. It's an improvement, but it just, again, I don't know. It just doesn't, with all the things that we've had now, we've had, since Avatar came out in 2009, we've had the Avengers movies, we've had, all these, the Justice League movie, all these movies, and that with CG that just looks great. I mean, nothing. Back when Avatar came out, it set a new standard. It was like, oh man, this is beautiful, this is amazing, and now kind of everything's that good. So Avatar 2 is really gonna have to do something to like blow us away, don't you think?
And I that's a great point. When it first came out, we had never seen anything like it, and the 3D technology was great. And I do think it's funny we look back that we thought it was going to be a thing buying 3D television. And James Cameron keeps talking about how he's going to do 3D list glasses 3D, and he's always about pushing the technology. But I think what you just talked about was the best point of all. You just saw 4K restoration of Avatar. Where's my 4K restoration of Abyss? Where's my 4K restoration of Terminator 1 and 2? Where are these movies? I want to see those movies 4K. I will take Avatar. It'll be fun. But James Cameron on a list of greatest films he's ever made. Avatar is sitting below his top 5.
For sure.
That's just how great of a filmmaker this guy is. And, I would think that preserving my legacy and coming out with 4K restorations of other better films would be a priority to me, but again, beggars can't be choosers.
And he's getting old. I mean, he's not getting any younger, that's for sure. And it seems like he's going to spend, the rest of what I would assume to be his life working on more Avatar. And I mean, we'll get what we get, but hopefully Avatar 2 will be a step up and an improvement. And, hopefully we can get that glassesless 3D someday. That would be pretty cool, I think that could be enough to get most of us to come out, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, the 3D, I don't wear glasses. I should. I have very poor eyesight, and I've barely passed all my driver's ed tests, so I should have to wear glasses. But that's how much I'm against wearing glasses. If they come out with glasses, this 3D technology, that'd be really cool.
And then you got me, which I have glasses and I have to wear them because I'm blind without them. And then I have to put the 3D glasses over these glasses in order to see, and it just becomes a bit of a complicated mess, to be honest with you. Plus, I don't want to scratch up my glasses and stuff with their shitty throwaway glasses. But anyways, 3D would be cool without glasses, that's for sure. And, listen, here's something that I would say about James Cameron. The same thing, people said about Tom Brady for years now, which is, don't bet against the guy. I mean, he has 2 films right now at the box office that are, in the top 3 of all time. I mean, Titanic made billions of dollars. Avatar's about to cross maybe $3 billion made. So I wouldn't bet against James Cameron. And I mean, he definitely is one of the, premier prestigious directors we have out there left that's working, So yeah, so we'll see what goes on. And I'm definitely, my hype for Avatar 2 has definitely increased a bit. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So now we're going to move over to our second main topic, which we are going to talk about. We're sticking kind of in the box office thing, and we're going to talk about Bros. Maybe. We're going to talk about Bros. And so Bros, it's getting great reviews. We just recently watched the trailer for it. It looks a little cringe to me. I hate that word. It looks like it could be good. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good or couldn't be good. Again, I love Billy Eichner. I love a lot of the people involved. The director directed Neighbors. We obviously love Neighbors around here, and forgetting Sarah Marshall, of course. But again, yeah, it looks a little like, I don't like using the word cringe, but it looks a little cringe, and I mean, but it does have little moments in the trailer that I think I like. But it's got great reviews. Shane, what's it at on Rotten Tomatoes? Could you look that up for me? Last time I checked, it was sitting around like a 95, 92, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. So at the weekend box office, it took fourth, which isn't very good. It only raked in 4.8 million. And I mean, you even have the re-release Avatar that was doing,
It's at 91% tomato meter and 92% audience score.
So the audience is loving it, the critics are loving it. It's got rave reviews, and at the end of the day, I mean, it only brought in $4.8 million, and I don't know what it really is a testament to. What I think is a testament to is the fact that, and something I've been talking about for a while, is that comedy movies just don't do well in the box office. They never really have done, staggering crazy numbers, but there's been some that have done decent. But as it's gone on through the years, it's petered off a lot, because I feel like that comedy movies is definitely something that is an at-home, on the couch with your buddies thing that kind of fits a better role. Like we talk about often how movies have become event-type experiences, and less, like when you go out, you want to be, experiencing an event more than a comedy movie that you could watch at home with your friends. And I think that has some things to do with it. I mean, it could be also just a little bit that there's you had Smile take the weekend box office, and we are hitting October. I think people are getting in that scary Halloween feel. So I mean, maybe the release date on it was a little bad. Maybe it should have been a couple weeks earlier, or maybe a little later. I'm not sure. What do you think, Shay?
I think, not only bad timing in terms of October, because I think you're right. I think once October comes around, we're wanting scary stuff. A comedy, I think comedies always have to battle uphill anyway. What comes to my mind when I think of highest money making comedies, I think they're like family comedies, Pixar, something you can bring the whole family to, or something that's not just a straight comedy, like Ghostbusters, something that has, there's some sci-fi to this, so it's more of a spectacle. I agree with you. I think it's tough to get members into the theater for a comedy. And also something Bros is battling up against right now is this inflation. Everyone's a little bit more broke, and so if you're going to spend $20 to go see a movie, I'm probably going to go see like a Smile or an Avatar rather than a Bros, because Bros is going to be great on the couch whenever it finally starts streaming. And you're right. I was cracking up. We watched a bunch of trailers today, and that one had me rolling. I would say that I'm a married heterosexual male. This movie's not written for me, and I want to see it. It seemed so much fun. It really did have that kind of Apatow early 2000s appeal, that some of these bar scenes and some of the raunchy humor. But now we're getting into this R-rated comedy. Again, we're limiting the number of people that are actually going to see this. So definitely. I think it's just stacked against inflation, October, and it's an adult comedy. That's just a hard combination to get big box office numbers.
Yeah, and it's too bad because, like you said, I mean, it looks really good. I'm glad you brought up the point that, this movie really isn't made for you, but, you want to see it. And I agree, a certain part of me wants to see it. And, you know how we feel about trailers. They sometimes ruin movies, or they sometimes, don't show the real potential of a movie. So it could be completely different too. I mean, we talked about as soon as it started that the music was cheesy, and it was just, it did have that early 2000s kind of cheese feel to it or something. But again, it looks good. I'm definitely going to watch it. And I look forward to seeing it. It's too bad that it's not doing better at the box office with good reviews. We talk about all the time that, not good movies don't get enough attention, really good movies especially. And this could be an example of that, of a good movie just, not being able to pull in enough audience members. And again, you have the re-release of Avatar, and like we were saying, that's definitely not only is it not a couch movie because, Disney took it off Disney Plus, but it's a theatrical experience because it's 3D, it's so big, it's so vibrant, it's so colorful. You're as great as TVs are today, Avatar even looks a little bit better in theaters, where this movie doesn't look better in theaters. You know, it doesn't sound better in theaters. It looks just as good at home. And again, I think it's just easier for us to, you know, also with comedy movies, I think they have that kind of popcorn, tombstone pizza, you know, what are we watching? Oh, it's light, it's easy, it's something that we could put on and we don't have to think about, you know, and decide on. Or we'll end up doing that thing, you know, where we go through and we spend an hour trying to decide what movie to watch. Well, this is one of those movies you can just put on and not really have to think too much about it. And I don't know if I'm personally going to go see it in theaters. I mean, I know, Shane, that you're definitely not going to go see it.
Well, I don't see a lot of movies in theaters, so it's not specifically because it's this one.
Right, for sure. But I see movies in theaters. I'm probably going to pass on this. But again, this could be something that, you know, sometime in the studio we're lounging around, we just put on to, you know, to check out. I mean, it's something that we may like. And again, it's too bad that it's not getting the love it deserves. But it's getting rave reviews. I mean, you said it was a 93 critics. The audience is loving it at 92%. So people love the movie. So you should go out and see it. If you haven't checked out Bros yet, you should probably head out and check it out. Or, you know, wait out, and I'm sure it'll be on one of these streaming apps for free before we know it. And again, I really love Billy Eichner. You know, we're big fans. Me and Shane are huge fans of Billy on the Street. love the Billy on the Street for sure. So we hope it does better. I know he wrote it. I thought he directed it, but apparently he just wrote it and starred in it. So I want it to do as good as it can, but you know, it can only do as good as it can. So so the next thing we want to talk about, we're going to move on to our third main topic here. And our third main topic is Smile, which we were talking about just a little bit earlier. Now, Smile did take the weekend box office with $22 million, like we talked about earlier. Now, Shane, we just watched the trailer for Smile. I hadn't seen it until just this morning. And man, I tell you what, it looks great. It looks creepy. The premise is awesome. I'm sure you've never seen the movie It Follows, but it had a It Follows kind of vibe, and I really love It Follows. I know it got great critic reviews, but it was a little divisive with audiences because it's basically, It Follows is kind of like a walking STD, but you pass it on, and when you pass it on to the next person, it follows you, and then it just, you know, and it kind of had that feel as if, you know, this smile disease is like a disease type of thing, like that was passed on to her by this patient that she had. And just that looked so cool. The smiling thing. We watched a movie a couple years ago. I want to say it was called, I can't remember what it was called, but they had these scenes where they had used CG and they had made these people smile so big that it was creepy. And I remember that freaking me out. And this just looks great. Like, again, the premise is great. Just how a smile is meant for happiness and meant for, you know, good things. But for this, it's something so terrible. Shane, you checked out the trailer this morning, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I've never seen It Follows, but that premise in it that you said seemed familiar to me for The Ring, which is kind of something similar. You watch something and all of a sudden you're cursed and you got to pass it on or you're dead. So I definitely got those vibes. I think Smile looks really cool. And what works with it is the same reason that works with The Ring, possibly with It Follows. I haven't seen that. But it's not just a horror. You're drawn in with this mystery. You want to know what's going on, what's inflicting these people. And you could already see within the trailer, she's having to do research. She's having to track down one of the survivors.
Which is very Ring-like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but what makes, to me, horror movies really good is when you create this mystery, because now we're following along. It's not just about the scares. There look like there's some really good scares in this. But what always gets me the most creeped out is whenever you're digging deeper and you're hitting that lava. Like, oh, how deep you get before you get burned. And that's kind of what always appeals to me with the horror movies. bring in that mystery, keeps me hooked. And this one definitely has that, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah, for sure. Last night we were doing the thing where we try to decide on a movie for an hour. And, it's October, so we're trying to find something scary, and we come across this movie. I can't remember the name of it right now, but more or less the story is like this lady comes home from work, and her boyfriend, right in the front door, like a few feet in, has built a cardboard fort. And as there's like an enter sign, and she can like yell, and she can hear him, and he can hear her, but he's lost in the fort. Mm-hmm. And like you go into the fort, and it's it's like a place, like there's thousands of rooms, and it's all made out of cardboard, and it's all practical. You can tell they just cardboarded a bunch of stuff up. And I mean, it looks great. Now the movie did decide to take it into a little bit of a comedy horror twist, which it still looks good, and it had good reviews. But man, just the concept of the idea of there's this cardboard fort that you built that now has like sucked you into some dimension that you can't get out of, and like the girlfriend's like, well, what are you talking about? I'll just come in there and get you. And he's like, no, I don't want you to get lost too, because it's so deep and long, and it was one of those premises like Smile, and this is why I bring it up. It was one of those premises that is new and fresh, and it's not only has it not been done, but it's just it just sucks you in. Like you said, what's going on in there? How deep does this cardboard world go? How many rooms? How far is he in? How long has he been walking? Like it's all the same things with Smile. And I mean, honestly, of all the trailers we've watched this morning, and this could be my bias of Halloween and October being my favorite month of the year, and me loving horror movies, but man, I tell you what, it got me the most excited. This is a movie that I personally will probably go ahead and head out and check out in theaters. Shane, would you check this one out in theaters?
I would. We watched both this and the Bro trailer, and to me, I can see exactly why Smile made so much money and Bro hasn't. I can tell you right away that if we're comparing what's a better film, you can already tell Bros has a better message. It comes from someone's actual life, which is art. But just watching the trailers, I was super excited to see Smile. It's exactly what October's all about. It's sitting in the theater, being scared out of your mind, trying to figure out what is going on. And there was just a lot of breadcrumbs scattered that in the trailer was like, oh, I got to see this movie because I want to figure out that part, or I want to figure out this part, and I think they nailed it.
Yeah, for sure. It looks really good. If you guys haven't checked out the trailer for Smile, at least go check out the trailer. And if you get a chance, check it out in theaters while you can. It's October. It's going to be October all month long, guys. It's early. It's scary time. It's time to get scary. So enjoy it while you can. There's not going to be a ton of great horrors coming out in theaters. Seems to be a lot of good looking stuff coming to streaming horror wise. But again, horror is one of those things that is real hit and miss in the theater. It's like comedy in the sense that it's different for everyone. So what scares me may not scare you, and what makes me laugh may not make you laugh. But it looks good, and if you guys haven't checked it out, you should definitely go check that out for sure. So we're going to move on to our fourth main topic here. And what we're going to talk about is the Ant-Man and Loki Season 2 and Indiana Jones 30 or whatever number they're on.
That's finally coming out.
Trailer leaks, yes. So they had D23, which was terrible, and nothing good happened or came from it. But apparently some jackass in there decided to record some things, so we got that out of it at least. And I'm not gonna lie, I was on YouTube going through the little shorts thing, scrolling up and down, and I hit a scene with a character, and Ant-Man in it, and I'm like, whoa, what movie is this from? I haven't seen this before. And it's probably, like an 8 or 10 second scene. I mean, it looks really cool, and now that I know what it is, it blows my mind. And I don't know if it came from that trailer or not. I'm not into big into leaks or watching leak trailer. I don't want to watch a 480p shot on someone's phone trailer. I want to watch the 4K trailer when Marvel puts it out on YouTube, on their YouTube channel, and that's when I'm going to go check it out. So none of these have I seen. I haven't seen Loki season 2 leak trailer as well. But what I want to talk about a little bit is a couple things, how we live in a world now where, usually this doesn't happen as often as you would think it would. It's kind of like just recently, as everyone here is well aware of, that Hugh Jackman, is coming back to play Wolverine in Deadpool 3. And which we found out, by the way, it's going to be a full role. It's more of like a buddy cop kind of movie, by the way. But anyway, quick question, Shane. Do you think that they just decided to have Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine in Deadpool 3 like last week?
It really seemed like Hugh and Ryan were just hanging out. And he was like, bro, you gotta be in my movie. And he was like, hey, mate, they'll never let me do that. I retired from Wolverine. And Ryan's like, doesn't matter, I'm Ryan Reynolds. They will listen to me. And you know what? They're right. And if it's a buddy, that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that idea a lot.
Definitely, for sure, would be a cool way to do it. 2 good Canadian kids, by the way. And so, but my point was, they didn't decide that last week, I don't think. I think that, this is something they've been talking about. We've seen them kind of teasing this for a few years now, actually. Like, I mean, even in the first Deadpool movie, you had the moment where, she pulls his mask off and he's got the Hugh Jackman thing just stapled to his face, I mean, it's kind of been teased for a while, and then, but my point is, again, they didn't decide this just recently. This is something that's been ongoing. So how does something like that, stay under wraps, so tight, but then D23 happens and, take your phone and just keep it off. How do those kind of things happen? And it's something that you talked about. We talked about this just briefly this morning, is that, that you believe some of this is happening on purpose. And I mean, if that's true, then that makes complete and total sense. But it just some of it doesn't make sense in the marketing, because again, you had D23, and then 5 or 7 days later you announce, after D23, when you could have had any announcements you wanted, then you announce that Wolverine's coming back, Hugh Jackman's coming back to play Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Why wouldn't you announce that at D23? And then when you're having D23 and you're releasing these trailers to hundreds and possibly thousands of people that are going to be there, why not simultaneously put those up on YouTube? I mean, people are seeing them, people are talking about them. I mean, if anything, even if you go over to a channel we love here, the new Rockstars channel, they're breaking down what they see. So whether we see it or not, it's out there, And then there's also this, again, 280p quality version that some jackass recorded on his phone out there too. So is that what they want us to see? Is this what they want? Is this somehow them intentionally marketing us, but in a what I would say a shitty way? Because again, they had the opportunity with D23 just a few weeks ago. They released these trailers there at D23, so why not just put them up on YouTube so the rest of us can see them anyway? Shane, what are your thoughts?
Well, they want D23 to be, San Diego Comic-Con. So I can see why they don't release the trailers at the same time. They want that word of mouth. They want people to write articles. But I do think it's intentional. You put out a crappy quality trailer, gets people talking, and it's all about word of mouth and producing buzz. And let's analyze why they did this for Ant-Man 3, Loki 2 versus Deadpool. Well, Deadpool 3, everyone's going to watch because it's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. We love that. It's going to be great. And now you're bringing Hugh Jackman back. You don't need to leak anything. You just need to tell me to see it, and we'll see it. Whereas Ant-Man 3, it's like, well, I love the first one. didn't care about the second one. Maybe I'm not going to see the third one. Well, now there's buzz going around. Oh my goodness, maybe I should see it. So I think that it was intentional because of the properties they chose to. You're right. For some reason, they didn't have the announcement for the Deadpool 3, and during when all this stuff gets leaked, so that happened to not get leaked. Seemed like that was planned. But you know me, I always think that all of this is planned. I don't believe in leaks. I think that they're set out there to be intentional, to create buzz. I'm one of those people that thinks Ugly Sonic was created on purpose, even though it doesn't make any sense because that's millions of dollars wasted. But it's sure, when we see
millions
the Sonic
game
movie,
too.
Yeah, millions game. But I think when it came to Sonic, we didn't have an opinion when I finally saw the movie because it was just like, as long as it doesn't look as bad as the Ugly Sonic, then I won't even think about it.
Well, and then you got the whole winning cures everything, Sonic was a good movie. I mean, it wasn't just a good movie, but it was like a slap you in the face, surprise out of nowhere good movie. You almost, Sonic is one of those movies you almost go into expecting this is not going to be good, but I love Sonic, let's try it. And God, it just ended up so good. I know you haven't seen Sonic 2 yet. I'm way off topic.
I have seen it.
You have seen it? What'd you think of Sonic 2?
Oh, I loved it. Sonic 2 might even been better than the first one. I mean, which is hard to say.
That's what Lucas was saying. I don't know about that.
The first one has a lot of heart in it, but I think the fact that it didn't need to hold your hand anymore, it's like, we don't need to explain anything. We're just going to throw you into this world. And God, I did have a lot of fun. I've seen Sonic 1 twice and Sonic 2 just once. So, maybe after this second viewing of Sonic 2, I might go Sonic 1's better. But just after my first impression, I was like, I love this movie. And Tails is adorable. I need to get that Tails plush and just carry it around with me everywhere I go because he's adorable.
Yeah, Tails is my favorite Sonic character. Now, I will say that I didn't finish it, but I mean, I only have like 10 minutes left. It was because, the fam fell asleep and I didn't want to watch it without him since it's somewhat of a family-friendly movie that we were watching together. It definitely seemed more of a badass movie than the first one. The first one definitely felt more family-friendly, where this one kind of feels a little bit badass. But again, that's off topic. What were we talking about?
The leaks.
Yeah, we're talking about leaks and why Ugly Sonic was intentional. So maybe they're intentional, maybe they're not. But what is your opinion, Shane, on the idea of, now that they're out there, let's say, for instance, that we know there are leaks and that they didn't want this to happen and it wasn't intentional. Now that they're out there, if you're Disney, do you get ahead of this and put the trailers out so people aren't on YouTube watching this low quality trailer?
I don't know why they would care. If people are watching their stuff, no matter the quality, I think the lesser quality and this amount of buzz just shows that people are really interested in seeing this. I think a lot of the appeal of Marvel right now is we've kind of gotten into this new world with Marvel where it's not just the movies. Obviously, they have the streaming. But it's also now, I remember when Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3 came out, or Thor 2 came out. We're talking 10 years ago. Nobody was talking about possible cameos or, nobody cared. They just wanted to see the movies. Now, it's like every week, there's all this buzz about the next big thing.
Who's going to be in it?
Exactly. And I think where they've kind of gotten into this area, I think that they're very successful with it. It's kind of like, going back into film history, there was this director and producer, Roger Corman, who made B features in the 60s and 70s. And his whole idea was we were going to make these movies and pump them out so fast that by the time word of mouth came out that this movie's bad, well, the next one's already out. And now you're seeing
brilliant.
That. And, I think Marvel is going along those lines. Not saying they're making bad stuff, but, hey, we're going to make this so big and amped up that by the time you have an opinion, it doesn't matter because the next one's coming out, and you're talking about that now.
That is a great point. That's something that I haven't thought about, but, it is becoming overcrowded, and it's becoming more of a, less quality and more of a quantity thing. And, with these Disney Plus shows, and now it's kind of leaking into the movies even, I know you haven't seen Thor 4 yet, but... or any of the new, many of the new Marvel slated stuff that's come out this year, but the quality has just slowly gone down. Honestly, ever since WandaVision, I would say, everything's just kind of dwindled down. There's been little ups that kind of get close to that, but nothing kind of gets there. And and that's a great point that you bring up. And you may be right that they're just happy people are buzzing about it. And the fact of the matter is that you are totally correct that the truth is just like when, Thor came out and we were like, Beta Ray Bill's gonna be in it, It's gotta be Beta Ray Bill, and it's, Michael B. Jordan's playing him, or whoever, and we're all excited, and then we see Thor, and it's not that great of a movie either, and we're like, and there's no Michael B. Jordan as, Beta Ray Bill, and we're like, and then right when we start to think too much about it, well, She-Hulk comes out next week. So, and we know we may get a cameo in it, and then every once in a while they give it to us. Like with She-Hulk, their first trailer, they show us that Daredevil's going to be in it. And so now we, and so that's what they do. They're kind of, it's like a breadcrumb when they want kind of thing. So I think that's a really good way to look at it. And it's too bad because, as you know, I've become a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and these kind of movies and stuff. But honestly, as a guy who loves this stuff, it is becoming kind of difficult to want to stay up till 2 a.m., every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday when these movies or TV shows just aren't, have the same quality as they used to. And like you said, it could be that turnover rate idea of, well, there's going to be a new one next week. And even if there's not a new Marvel thing next week, well, there's a new Mandalorian next week, or there's an Obi-Wan coming at you, or there's something that's there to make you forget. And I think that's so true. Back when Marvel was making 2 movies a year, you have a lot of time to digest those things and sit on them. And I think that makes a really big difference. So, let's see here. The last thing we're going to talk about today is we want to talk about the October movie slate. So I need to, is there a way for me to pull up something like this on, maybe not. Okay, that's okay. So let's just talk about what we have, what we're excited for coming out this October. So I have a 5 list I'm going to go over. So my number 5 most anticipated movie coming out in October is going to be Halloween Ends. So Shane and I have actually seen both Halloweens together. The 2018 Halloween and Halloween Kills, I believe it's called. Weren't the hugest fans of Halloween 2018. It's not bad. It has its moments. We're pretty big fans of Halloween Kills. It was pretty cool. But man, I gotta be honest with you, it is kind of wearing thin on me. I'm not as excited as I was when we finished that movie last October. I remember being on my couch and the movie ended thinking, whoa, this is gonna be cool. Where's this going? And now I don't know what happened. It's not been too long, but I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm not really looking forward to it as much as I would like to be. Shane, what are your feelings on it?
I'm super excited about Halloween. Maybe they should have done every other year, so that way we don't feel burnt out. I can totally relate to the burnt out feeling. That's how I started feeling about Marvel. So I can totally understand why someone might feel that way with Michael Myers and Halloween. However, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be cool. They bring back Jamie Lee Curtis again. This is supposedly the last one of this one. We'll see. But real quick, I do want to mention this since we are talking about Halloween. I think my only problem with any of these newer Halloween movies, starting with H2O with the Jamie Lee Curtis and what was it? 1999 or whatever, and it was a good movie. But I have to say, after my wife and I, we just finished Cobra Kai, the new came out like last month, and I know you're not a big fan of that show, but I grew up with the Karate Kid movie. When the third one came out, I was like 7 years old, so I didn't know it was a bad movie. However, growing up, I love it, but recognize that this movie's a piece of shit.
For sure.
But what's really cool about Cobra Kai, the series, is they don't retcon anything. They actually make Karate Kid 3 believable, makes me want to go back and watch it, and honored it. And I really wish Halloween at some point could do the same. I love, Halloween Resurrection. I know that's not a big fan.
I'm a huge fan of Resurrection, and I will say that in Kills, there was a few moments that felt like it did that. I mean, remember when they went back to, to 19 whenever it happened, and they had those kind of original shots of like when he comes out of the house and the police catch him and stuff.
I mean, that is true. They honor the first film, but they've taken rid of what is her name, Jamie, I think. Jamie's not a character anymore, and I like 4 and 5 Halloween. I still,
I love those
right?
movies.
They're good movies, and I'm not saying make those an integral part of it. I'm just tired of these franchises not honoring their whole history. Because you know what, there's a fan of even the bad movies out there. And if you could just sneak it in a little bit, Jamie died or whatever. I guess she did die in 6.
Yeah,
the Paul Rudd one.
Yeah.
Tie into that one. So it makes sense that Jamie died or whatever the case is. My whole point is that when you have a big franchise like this, you should honor all the movies, not just the bad ones. I saw Cobra Kai do it successfully. I know Halloween. And I know that after this last Halloween, there will be another Halloween's Michael Myers series. There better be. And I like the whole idea of maybe doing these trilogies where you bring in a new creative team to do 3. Then we wait a couple of years and bring in another team to do 3. Something like that.
And we love the guys behind it. I mean, we love Danny McBride. Obviously, he's a big writer on it. And honestly, I just feel that for me. And I mean, I am a huge fan of the original Halloween movie. I mean, it may be my favorite movie of that time. And I mean, but it's just so different. And I feel like it doesn't always honor that. A big thing that I disliked was the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. And people love them. My wife loves them. And they're not bad movies. I wouldn't say like, oh, they're unwatchable or nothing like that. But the thing is that they didn't get it. He didn't get it. He didn't get Michael Myers. Again, Michael Myers is the thing, the shadow that's watching you in the night. He's the I forget what his name is on Dead by Daylight, but the Shape. That's perfect because he's just kind of there, and he's what Rob Zombie kind of did with it is made it this brutal, gruesome killer, And I think that this trilogy has kind of tried to do like a mix of that. But again, I think we end up with not enough of that on the edge of your seat, like thriller kind of feeling that John Carpenter gave us in the original Halloween. Now, again, they're not bad movies by any stretch of the imagination. But again, part of me feels like they just don't quite get it. And maybe that's what you mean a little bit by not honoring, the original films too, is not only with past characters and actors and stuff, but as well with just the tone of it, the feel of it, how it feels. Like I remember as a child, like I watched all of that stuff. I watched Freddy and Chucky and nothing made me feel like that Halloween movie did. It made me on the edge of my seat, scared. And it wasn't because, he was stabbing a dude in his neck a bunch of times and I was watching his neck guts come out. I mean, as crazy as that is, it's not as scary as what we were given again in that first Halloween movie. Or I use a perfect example is just like when he kills the dog outside. I mean, do you see him kill the dog outside? No. Do you need to see him kill the dog? No. All you need to hear is that dog barking at some whoa, whoa, and then all of a sudden, whoa, whoa, whoa.
We know what happened.
Ooh, you don't want to know. You don't want to see it.
No.
You don't need to see it. And that, to me, I think, is the big defining difference between what they're doing now and the original movie. And again, it's not to say that they're bad movies because of it. I just think that it's just a little bit of a different approach. I think, like I said, they're coming in where they're trying to kind of meet in the middle of that Rob Zombie. It's not that gruesome all the time, but if you remember, that second one specifically, dude, there was some pretty hard stuff to see. Remember that like lady's head that he bashes in, and then there's the baby in the crib, and he walks by, and you're like, oh no, don't do that to the baby.
That's suspense.
Right, for sure. And it should be more moments like that again, where he's walking past the baby, and you're like, oh, and that should be what's scaring you, is the idea of what could he do, what might he do, and not how hard he can slam this lady's head on the kitchen until it turns into hamburger meat. But
I think you made a excellent point there, and just as I'm kind of thinking about it, I think what is great about Michael Myers and the Halloween film, and a lot of great Halloween movies in general, Halloween genre, not the series,
for sure,
is that there's not we take it for face value. We know when we're coming in to see a horror movie that it's not real, that it's most likely super unbelievable. But we don't have a problem with that. That's what we want to see. And I think that, the issue with the Rob Zombie movies, and maybe even this newest Halloween, the first one, is that they want to explain too much. There's all this exposition. Yeah. Who is Michael? Yeah. Where did he came from? Do I care? Yeah. No. Just give me the suspense. Yeah. Just give me him seeing the stalking. The less I know, the more I'm scared.
That's right.
We fear the unknown. So once you start tying in all the unknowns, and now we know them, you're making it less scary. And I don't think this is just the Halloween series. This is a lot of horror movies.
Yes,
where
for sure.
They'll try to over-explain.
I would say it's a lot of movies in general today. Completely, like we talk about often. Audiences want the movie with all the lore and all the history and all the and again, with some things, to me, that's awesome when we get them, like The Conjuring. I know you've never really seen that, but The Conjuring almost has its own little cinematic universe where you have, it leads into the Annabelle series and all this other thing, because this family is keeping this room full of all this cursed things, and it all ties in together in its own little cinematic universe. And for a horror thing, it's like, well, that's unique and that's cool because we've never really seen it done. But sometimes, man, it's a scary movie. Do I really need to know, like even delve into the stuff, is Michael supernatural? Is he, again, does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter at all. And I don't think it's something we need to delve into. Not in order for it to be a good movie, not in order for it to scare us and to give that tone like the original movie did.
All we needed in the original series, the first 5 or 6, is we just need Donald Pleasant running around going, he's the devil! Yeah. I've seen him look through the walls at this day, at this time. That's all I need. I don't need to know if he's a demon or not. All I know is this guy's freaked out. I'm freaked out.
Yeah, he's loved this dude since he was like 7. So if anybody's going to be freaked out, it's him. We should probably be freaked out. And it's too bad because, we had Drew. Yeah, oh my gosh. I mean, he's the best part of that. I mean, it's almost a perfect trade-off. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, this will never kind of be the same.
But no one can ever play that character.
Right. But,
whoa, wait, maybe.
right. But then you get it, and you're like, oh man, like this is the best part of the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. Oh God, he really is. He sells you so much on that character. And that's a good point too. Something else, real quick, because we're spending a little too much time on this topic. Is that what's this character's name?
Loomis.
Loomis is such, to me, an integral part of Halloween. Like, dude, I kid you not. Like, Loomis to me. Oh, sweet, we just got a super chat from Matt. Thanks, Matt. We'll go over those later at the end of the show. But to me, he was my hero. He was my dude that was gonna keep me from getting Michael. You know what I mean? Like he was, wasn't just running around saying this dude is crazy. He was trying to stop Michael. He was trying to warn us and tell people like, dude, this is you guys need to open your eyes. And we seen in that second movie, Halloween Kills, at that scene, which they used CG for his face, which honestly looked great. And back to that, when we cut to that, I instantly got chills. seeing that character again at the bottom of those stairs and looking up at Michael and what have you done, and knowing that I tried to, and he comes out and he tells, look, there's all those cops. Now the whole police force is out, you know. But it's too late. And he's out there telling him, like, you know, I've been calling you. I've been here. I've been trying to find him. And then what does he do? He tries to get a gun. And he's like, you can't arrest this dude. Kill him now. Because Loomis was our hero. Loomis was what I really think when everything was so scary and was hard to watch, Loomis would bring me back down and be like, okay, hold on though. I got Loomis here. I feel, or you have those moments with like Gloria or whoever in with Michael, and then Loomis would come in, and again, immediately you're okay. Hopefully Loomis can handle this, And there was always a little way. It was almost like the Hulk thing with Black Widow, where it's like, hey, the sun's getting real low, big guy. Like Loomis is always like, come on, Michael, calm down, you know me and stuff. And it never works, of course. And shooting never works. None of that works. But again, I feel like not going with Loomis. I understand why they made that choice. I really do. But again, to me, I think it's a bad choice, and it's showed most apparently in the Rob Zombie films, because again, that was the greatest part of the film. And maybe it was like Michael McDowell, maybe, but it could have just been because it's a really good character, and that we have a lot of attachment, just as much, I would say, to me when I think about Halloween, the franchise, when I was a kid at least, I think about those two people. I think about my antagonist, I think about Michael Myers, and I think about the guy that's going to keep him from killing me. And I think that maybe that has not the lack of having Loomis there has kind of affected those movies. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a great point. Although I do think this Danny McBride trilogy does have a Loomis, I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis's character. However, what made the Carpenters so good was that Jamie Lee Curtis, or Jamie, when she get into the 4 and 5 and stuff, she was so incapable of doing anything. So you're right, we felt confident in Loomis could stop Michael Myers. But anytime the attacks happened, Michael Myers or Loomis was somewhere away. So we were like, oh my God, Jamie Lee Curtis can actually die right now because Loomis isn't there. Well, now flash forward, and I really do believe Jamie Lee Curtis is that Loomis. She knows the history. Nobody believes her. She knows that he must be stopped, but nobody believes her. But we don't really have that naive, innocent character that we're following. That because Jamie Lee Curtis is in control the whole time, it's like, well, we know she's going to stop him. But if we take her out of that equation, like Loomis is at the school while Jamie's at the house. Stuff like that. I think they need to play more like that, because as soon as Jamie Lee Curtis comes into the play, we know she's got this. She's badass. She's very capable. And I just think we need those more incapable characters. I think they did a little bit with the daughter in the last one, but she wasn't really the main character.
For sure.
She was just, I don't believe you, Mom, and now I do. And there was that cool moment where she does shoot Michael. But.
Well, I would say that the biggest difference to me is with Loomis also, in those moments, like I was saying, where he's trying to kind of talk Michael down from doing what he's doing. You have this small, and I know you'll agree with me on this one, is that you have this kind of connection there between the two of them. There's this almost a love, like this is like my dad, this is like my uncle, this is like family. I mean, I haven't had anybody in my life, like this lady I'm trying to kill, maybe my sister or my cousin or whatever, but this dude's been here forever. I don't know how Michael is back in those movies, 30s or 40s. I'm now 30 or 40 years old, and this dude's been with me since I was 7. And so when we have those moments too, like have you ever, in all those movies and the originals, you ever remember a moment when Michael just went after, where Michael just went after Loomis and just like, I'm gonna kill him? Do you ever remember a moment like that?
There was more of a respect between the two.
Right, and that's my point.
He never really wanted to kill Loomis.
And that's my point, is that there's this kind of love there between them, like this connection. And to me, I feel like that kind of gave also this kind of humanizing thing to Michael. and to you know to make us feel that he's got feelings. He just like I said with Jamie Lee Curtis's character. He wants to kill her, and he's out to kill her no matter what. I mean, there's no, hold on, Michael, you remember when we were kids? No, there's none of that stuff. But with Loomis, every time, there's no moment where Michael's like, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. I mean, there may be...
I'm trying to think, doesn't he kill him in 6?
There may be towards the very end. Yeah. It seems like there's a spot where it's maybe, all right, I'm done with this.
So that also could have been because of the actor's health. And
yes,
he didn't survive that movie anyway.
But my point is, throughout there's always this connection that you feel between the two of them, and it kind of connects you to Michael in a human way, where everything else is, he's this machine of a killing, scary thing, and then there's this side of him like, whoa, wait, he cares about this guy, like he doesn't want this guy to die, specifically, and again, I think it's because. They've spent all this time together, but I don't think you get that with the Jamie Lee Curtis character.
Yeah, I agree. Well, because they're, for so long, Loomis worked with Michael. Like you said, he was like 7 years old, and he's also catatonic the whole time. So think about daily meetings with this kid.
Well, he was also early enough with Michael to where for like a little bit of time, he was talking to him. So he was able to, get to know Michael, and then he went. So again, he's the last person that's even heard Michael speak or have a connection with him.
Yeah, whereas Jamie Lee Curtis, the only relationship she has is murder or be murdered.
That's right, and I think that makes the biggest difference to me. And I really think the lack of a Loomis character affects that franchise more than anything else. But moving on, my fourth most anticipated movie for October is going to be Hellraiser. The Hulu Hellraiser movie. It's not even going to be out in theaters. It's coming straight to streaming. Shane, can we get a date on that by chance? Possibly when you get a chance.
I'll do that right now.
And we just watched the trailer for it again this morning. And I'll tell you what, man, it looks cool. Like it definitely doesn't have that kind of cheesy, weird feeling that they kind of petered off towards in the Hellraiser franchise.
This Friday.
So I'll definitely be checking that out this Friday. So it looks good. I like that we still have Pinhead. It looks like it may be. I've heard some other pundits talking, and maybe his daughter or something like that. I like the idea of passing it on. I know that they talked to the original guy that played Hellraiser, I believe, and he just kind of was just like, I'm too old to do this or something. So they got a young lady playing Pinhead. I mean, she looks great. The Cenobites looked great. A lot of the sets looked great. I mean, it looks scary. It's free. I can watch it on my couch. So Shay, what were your thoughts on the show for Hellraiser?
I thought it looked really cool too. Again, it definitely recaptures the original. We're being drawn in as a mystery. What's this box? And any of the Hellraisers you talked about how they kind of petered out. From what I know, I haven't seen the Pinhead movies.
Last 10.
Yeah, right. But I'm pretty sure they're all Cenobite heavy.
Yes,
like
sure.
In the world, they're the main characters. And I think what makes Hellraiser successful is any horror movie. You need a Luke Skywalker that we can identify with, that goes into this world of unknown and all this terrible shit happens. So we can relate to them and be scared. But if, I can't relate to Pinhead. And if he's just going around, I don't know, causing havoc, I can see why that series kind of flustered out after a while, and why rehashing it and redoing it for this one seems like a great choice.
But I could also see why delving into that stuff was kind of cool. Like again, it kind of got a little, what are we doing here? But at first, as a fan, you're like, well, shit, I want to know more about this Pinhead. How did he get the pins in his head? How does he get this job? All these things that he's doing, it's very intriguing stuff. It's a very interesting character. So I understand them wanting to delve more into that, don't you?
I agree. It's probably like that Terminator Salvation thing. You know, when Terminator 3 came out, I remember all of us like, why don't you just do the movie take place in the future? That's what we all want. And so they did that, and now we're just like, I didn't want this. You know, I can absolutely see why they were like, Pinhead's the best part, or, you know, let's develop this. Let's see what the world is.
For sure.
But, you know, you know, collect some fans doing that, and you lose some others. It's just the name of the game when you have that many of a series.
For sure, but this looks good, man. I'm excited to see it. Maybe we can get you to come over this weekend or something. We can check it out. I don't think it's too long either. I think it had a shorter runtime. It looks the idea of getting back to, like you said, the puzzle boxes and what all those mean. We have that guy that's like, you know, he's trying to win something, you know, by having this kid play. And I love the idea of the needles kind of taking your DNA. So no matter where you go or how far you go, the Cenobites know who you are. Like, they took your blood when you solved the box. So, like,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, little stuff like that was really cool. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing that new Hellraiser movie on Hulu this Friday. And I think Halloween ends. Did we figure out what time? I think it's the 14th is when it comes out. And it'll come out on Peacock, so we won't have to go see it in theaters. We can watch it at home just like we did last year with Halloween Kills. And then, let's see here. All right. And so number 3 on my list, my third most anticipated movie for October is going to be Black Adam. Now, Black Adam isn't a scary movie, unless, you know, you're a real little kid, maybe. But it looks good. I'm a little worried about Black Adam. I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He could do no wrong. I mean, is there a bad movie that he's in? Because if so, he's great in it. You know, and so I love The Rock, and we know this movie's gonna fly off shelves. People are gonna go out and watch this movie. People love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. People love, you know, superhero movies and Marvel and DC. So we know it's gonna do well. But man, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little worried and skeptical that this might have a little bit of that early to mid 2000s kind of cheese to it or feel to it, if you know what I mean. It looks good, but it looks like it could be bad. And I want to love it. I'm super excited. It's number 3 on my list because I really want to see it. And I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I don't know a ton about the character of Black Adam, and I'm sure you can go more into that. But I liked Shazam. And you've seen Shazam, right? And Shazam was good. And I like the idea of these two things crossing over at some point. Again, I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so I want it to be good. The trailers, this is the newest and final trailer, which I hadn't seen before. It was better than the trailers I had seen before. Like, the trailers before are just like, Black Adam, come see it. Like, there's no plot or what's it about or how he became that way. This, we get a little insight into seeing some backstory, but again, I'm just a little worried that it ends up being formulaic too. It just seems like that from the trailers. Again, it's a trailer, so we don't know. But Shay, what are your thoughts? You had a chance to take a look at the Black Adam trailer just this morning. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm excited. I love The Rock, right? And I love the character Black Adam. Very complex, very dark character. And I'm excited about this movie to be successful too, because can we imagine 2 successful movies in one calendar year? Oh my God, this is incredible. But I am a little worried. Black Adam seems a little more Justice League than it does Batman. The movies, not the characters. Meaning they're throwing everything at us. You know, and we saw Hawkman, we saw Dr. Fate. Yeah. We just saw a lot thrown at us. And so it's just like, how much are we going to have time to develop any of these characters if we're going to have 30 characters thrown at us? Is it just going to be a plot-driven film? Are we going to get into any of it? And, you know, some of the cheese factor might also come from Billy Batson Shazam, where that is family-friendly.
True.
You know, that is a very family-friendly character, where Black Adam's not. He's like the most corrupt
the opposite
version.
Of that.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And so the fact that they're probably going to be PG-13.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and they're trying to tie in, you know, yeah. But it probably should be a rated R. You know, Black Adam's more of a Logan, more of a Batman character that's probably should be not for kids, but they're probably going to make it a little more kids, especially being The Rock. Who doesn't love The Rock? Kids love The Rock. Adults love The Rock.
Well, if I remember right, the Batman was rated Was it rated R?
I don't remember.
I don't think the Batman was rated R. And
it could have been.
To me, that never makes a huge difference whether it's R or not. It maybe should have been an R movie, but that shouldn't make or break whether this movie's good. Don't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the rating system shouldn't. But my point is, if you have this character that could possibly be an R-rated movie, and now is in this more family-friendly PG territory, I think that's where some of the cheese.
Right. But, like I said, I'm looking forward to see it. I'll probably definitely go out in the theaters to see it. I mean, it's really big and bright looking. Shane, would you want to go out to theaters and check this one out?
I mean, this is definitely one of those theater movies. You got all these explosions. It looks super cool, Honestly, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I don't, even on your 70-inch LCD that you have, I don't think you can see his whole body, his whole torso. He's just so massive. You need the IMAX just to take in the beautiful specimen that is The Rock.
And, just watching that trailer on the TV, like I said it when we were watching, God, that dude's just so massive. It almost looks fake. It's funny because all these other heroes, they're probably CGing them up a little bit, adding a little bit of heft to them. You don't need to do any of that with The Rock, You're good to go with Dwayne. So can we get a date on the release date for Black Adam, by the way?
Yeah, let's take a look here.
And I believe, it's got to be PG-13 because they're going to want kids. It was PG-13? I thought so. And it felt kind of R-ish.
October 21st.
So the 21st is when Black Adam's going to come out. If you guys haven't checked out the trailer for it, there's a final trailer out. We just watched it today. You guys should go check it out and let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Okay, so this is where it got a little bit hard for me. So initially, Werewolf by Night, I think, was probably my most anticipated October release. But it's going to fall into the number 2 slot now. So Werewolf by Night is my second most anticipated movie of October. Most of you guys here know what Werewolf by Night is. It's a kind of a short movie. It's like 55 minutes maybe. So after credits and everything, it's probably a 45-minute movie or short film, whatever you want to call it. It looks great. I mean, we watched the trailer for it today. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I love black and white stuff. I love old horror stuff. It feels right in the vein of everything I want to see. And, I mean, the trailers just look cuckoo. They look fun. I mean, it also is probably family-friendly. I've heard things that it's a little not family-friendly for a Disney thing. And so that kind of excites me a little bit, too, because, I want to be scared and be adult, too, because it's Halloween, So, but I just think that it's really cool that they're doing these genre bending kind of things. Like what we had with WandaVision. We come into WandaVision, we don't really know what to expect. The trailers for WandaVision left me thinking, this is stupid. And really what it kind of, the trailers made it seem like that it was going to be this, I Love Lucy, kind of old school black and white sitcom thing. But then we got something so different. We got something like David Lynch's Twilight Zone episode of Wanda and Vision, and it was amazing. And I love when they go to these kind of things and really bend what our expectations and change what, again, we were talking about with Black Adam, formulaic. There's nothing formulaic at all about Werewolf by Night. There's nothing at all. I mean, even the black and white thing, man, as much as we love that, it's hard. It's few and far between you see films that come out in that format alone. Like, you have the 4K black and white version of Logan that, James Mangold demanded to have in order for him to direct the movie. But the color version was what came out. It's what was in theaters. It's what sold the most. And at the end of the day, you won't be able to watch this but in black and white. And I think that's really cool because they're sticking with, this theme of this, Bela Lugosi, Dracula, these old monster movies. And those were all, of course, in black and white. And as you see with a lot of the set design and set pieces, they look very practical. They look very old schooly kind of, and it just looks a lot of fun. Shane, you had a chance just to check it out this morning. What are your thoughts on the Werewolf by Night trailer?
I'm a little torn. I think it's going to be like WandaVision, where I didn't want to watch WandaVision because you're right. It just did not look like it was going to appeal to me, and I loved it every second. Didn't want to miss it. I think this is going to be the same way, where I'm going to need to watch an episode, because from what I got from it, it really they definitely got some of the gore. You're right,
yes,
Hal. I don't think it's going to be for kids. Just some of the scenes already, it's like, I don't know if I could handle this when I was 13.
Right.
But I think that my biggest issue with just watching the trailer is it seems a little too B horror movie for me, in the sense that, what made some of these great movies that weren't great, like Ed Wood, the Edward Wood movies that came out, where he was trying to make it good. Just didn't come out that way.
Sure.
Where it seemed like some of these things they are trying to make a little hokey, and I don't know how well that's going to play. I'm going to have to watch it and find out.
Yeah,
and so I will. But I think a lot of the B horror movies, when they are cheesy and a little kind of weird, what makes them still fun and appealing is they were really trying to go for scary, trying for this to be. But I feel like they're trying to do too much of a nod that it might come out a little hokey. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I think that's kind of the point is to have it a little kind of quirky and kind of make fun of, in a way, that era of movies, but in a respectful homage kind of way. And those movies are, back to Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood, and Bela Lugosi on the floor on heroin wrestling an octopus,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff is comical, man. And when you see it in that way actually being done, it's like, what are these guys doing? Like if we knew nothing about film and we were just walking past that set, we'd be like, that's never gonna amount to nothing. But again, times were different, things were different back then. What scared you then and what scares you now is different. And I think that those movies probably for the time were a little bit probably more scary than we see them in the light that we see them now. And so I think it kind of sheds a little bit of light on how we see that era of movies. Like we kind of see it in this certain light of, it's not really scary, like you said, it's kind of B-ish. Even though they may have been going for it, it's still that whole era kind of ends up in this, one category. But
I think that any type of horror, whether you're talking about 1930s B horror movies or 1980s B horror movies, these creators had great ideas. They were being very serious to make them, but just didn't have the budgets. Most things are cheesy in horror movie because they ran out of money. Right. Make it look good.
Right.
But they tried their best. So now we're in a situation where instead of Marvel trying their best, and they have the money, now all of a sudden they're making it cheesy as a nod to things that weren't trying to be cheesy, but were because they just couldn't afford it. So like I said, it's going to be, again, it is a nice honor to it. And as long as it's not filled up with all this camp, if it's a 30-minute episode and there's only 5 to 10 minutes of camp,
it's just a 50-minute
then awesome.
short.
Okay, 50, yeah.
So.
And might have a little bit of camp thrown in, but most of it, kind of like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
I think that was a perfect formula, balance, yes, of actual horror, balance of great movie, and balance of a nod to some of the stuff that came out before that maybe wasn't as good because, they just didn't have the budgets to. So if they are in the world of Shaun of the Dead, I'll love it.
For sure, and I believe that comes out, you can double check this for me, but I believe that comes out on the 7th.
I think so too, this Friday.
Which is also this Friday. Mm-hmm. So, and we'll probably do a pre or post show for that and have some discussions about it and sit down and talk about it. So that brings us to our very last and final, my number one most anticipated movie or show for October. And that's going to be Gilmore del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. We just watched the trailers for this again this morning when we watched all the trailers. And I haven't seen the trailers. I've only heard things about this. If you know anything about me, you know that the reason I'm sitting here today is because the Twilight Zone exists. I love the Twilight Zone. I think it's the greatest TV show that ever existed. And I love things like it. Anything that's good, that's like it. Like the Alfred Hitchcock stories or The Hour or whatever it's called. I love those. I loved when
Outer Limits.
Rod Serling did, Outer Limits or The Night Gallery, all of those things. I love them. So It's already got me on board. But then we watched the trailers for this. And God, this looks good. This looks fun. It's an anthology, so they're gonna break it up into, probably 4 episodes or something, 5 episodes. They're all directed by different people, which is really cool. And I mean, it just looks awesome. I mean, even how the Twilight Zone has their, Rod Serling behind a desk smoking a cigarette type of thing, or the Crypt Keeper, Tales from the Crypt has your Crypt Keeper. Well, you get Guillermo del Toro with this big cabinet of curiosity that in itself is just like, what am I looking at? What is this thing about? And then we get this montage almost of trailers that's kind of cut up into each other that for a long time you're questioning, you're like, what the hell am I watching? But it's just also done well made, and it's just trying to mix up too many things. It's not a movie, so it can't really make a great trailer. But everything that we've seen in there looks so good. It looks scary. It looks well made. It looks the cinematography looks great. I'm just super excited to see it, and the trailers got me really excited. Shane, you had a chance to check out the Cabinet of Curiosity trailer, and I know you found some more information about like the cabinets themselves and stuff. What do you think about the trailer for that?
I'm with you. I'm the most excited about this. It's everything I love. I mean, Del Toro, of course, so visual and anthology horror. I mean, you can't get better than that. Not only, you mentioned, all these great TV shows, Twilight Zone, stuff like that. But one of my biggest influences growing up were anthology horror comics. Even Marvel, Werewolf by Night was an anthology comic, and you have all
Tales from Dracula.
Tales from Dracula, exactly. All these short stories, compact, spoon-fed to me. I love that type of stuff. I also, just looking at here, there's 2 short stories that's going to be based on H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Ooh.
And I love H.P. Lovecraft. I think that's fantastic. And we're almost getting to the point where it's free for use. It'll finally be public domain. So it'll be nice to see their take on it. But it looks like it's premiering October 25th, and there will be 2 episodes each day for 4 days in a row.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, see, this is something that I love. I love the idea of us getting a kind of a spread out release. I know that you're not big on Netflix and they're not big on marketing anything, but last year they had this Fear Street series, and it was 3 films. And they all came out maybe, don't quote me on it, but maybe a week or 3 or 4 days from within each other they would come out, the next one. And they were awesome, dude. Like, I mean, they're one of those things that slaps you in the face, like, you put it on thinking this is a stupid comedy horror type thing, and I mean it's not very comedy, but a little bit. And then it ended up being great, and it was so good that I was waiting for the next one. And I like that. I like when they do this. They give us more anticipation, give us time to digest these things, and then hit us with some more again, and then again and again. We see it all the time. The Disney Plus method, or the HBO Max method, whatever you want to call it, the method of regular TV releases, where you're doing week-to-week releases, is the best way, because for us as fans, we just build and build and build that hype. Just like when I was watching Twin Peaks Season 3, again, every week, I may have ended by telling you, like, oh, I hate this show, I'll never watch it again. But man, I was there an hour before, getting all my stuff ready, popping popcorn, and thinking, man, when's this gonna start? I hope they put it on early today, And that, to me, is the beauty of it. I love Netflix. I love the idea of being able to binge stuff, but I love that they're introducing this this way of kind of giving us the best of both worlds, where we get to binge a couple, and then it won't be for a couple of days later before we get to binge a couple too. What are your thoughts on that?
I like binging shows, but you can binge a show anytime, right?
For sure.
If a show is really good, you're probably going to watch it again, and that's when you can binge it, right? I love the idea of serialized, slow releases, 1 per week, but it's also maybe because that's how we grew up with. Like you said, I love the fact that, you finish an episode and you're like, how can I wait for 1 week. How in the world? And then you talk about it. But all of a sudden when you have binge shows, you go to work and you're talking to your buddy about something like, oh, I haven't got to that part. Or maybe they spoil something because they were able to stay up later than you and were able to binge more. But whenever you have a slow release schedule where each episode, like WandaVision, was released, it's Thursday night, whatever, and WandaVision's coming out. Now we have a whole week now that you can talk to everybody. You're all on the same page. But when you have a binge-a-thon, like I said, you might have something spoiled. You may spoil something for someone else. It makes sense to, when something's first released, put it out once a week.
Well, think about WandaVision. We had the chalkboard going. We had we had a beautiful mind situation. We had all these theories and discussions. When WandaVision, I think, is a premier example of how this works. But when it was going, we were meeting like the day before it would come out just so we could go over theories and stuff. Like, that's how much we were just chomping at the bit to get more of this show. And so I think that's the best way to go, and I'm glad that they're doing that with this Cabinets of Curiosity. And again, it just looks really good. I'm super excited to see it. It's a little bit further on towards the end of the month, but it'll be worth the wait, and it'll be closer to Halloween. So if it's spacing those out, then correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time the last episode would come out, it would be just a couple of days before Halloween.
Yeah, it'll be the 28th, which is, Friday? I think if there's 4 release dates, they probably should have picked the weekends, Friday, Saturday, each one, because you're right. But most people aren't like us. When October 1st came around, I started watching horror movies.
Yeah, immediately.
But a lot of people don't do that. Yeah. Maybe they need the 15th or, whatever it is.
No, we were planning on like the few days before in September. We're like, all right, what are we doing? How are we tackling this month? Because we just love scary movies, and we love. Again, for me, it's beyond that. I love the month of October. I love the weather. It's fall. It's cooling down. I love orange. I love the color of fall. I love all of these things, and it's really cool, just like we're gonna go this Friday to the pumpkin patch, just like stuff like that is really, really fun, and it gives me almost the way I would like to compare. The only thing I could use to explain the way it makes me feel is how you probably feel, how most people probably feel around Christmas. That feeling that's just almost like everyone's good and everyone's nice. It's a bunch of BS that we feel that way, but we do. And then you get things like the people in front of you are buying your Starbucks, and you got this cycle of buying Starbucks for free. It's stuff like that because everyone feels this giddy feeling all at once.
It's just shared feeling we can all feel.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for me, that's the most during this month of October. I just love it. Last year I tried to get to do like a movie every night, and it's a horror movie, or every week we watch one or something, and it was a blast. We ended up here watching one every night, and we went through last year when I watched Ed Wood, for the first time, and we went through a lot of them. And again, for me, what's great about it is that good or bad, most of the time we enjoy ourselves with most horror. It's hard to find a horror movie that you don't like. But that being said, that's going to wrap up our main topics today. We have a few chat questions. Shane, could you possibly read those off for us?
Yeah. Lisa is asking, what is the last horror movie you watched that actually scared you?
That is a good question. So if we're going horror, what I would consider just flat out horror. Just off the top of my head, I want to say that seeing The Conjuring when it first came out was definitely something new and that really freaked me out. Now, I consider horror a little bit different. Like, psychological horror is still horror for me, where most people it's more like a thriller. But God, like Climax, The Lighthouse, those movies which just came out in 2019 are great psychological horror movies. So those are a couple that I would say. Shane, what's something that you've seen recently in the past few years that has actually legitimately gave you a scare?
Well, I'm I get jumpy at anything. Anything that's really suspenseful is usually when I'm the most terrified. I would have to say something that I have seen this before, but just off the top of my head, Saturday was October 1st, so I watched like 3 horror movies that day, and one of them I had seen before, but it was Dario Argento's Inferno. And on the Criterion channel, which I subscribe to...
Inferno, is that the one with Tom Hanks?
No, this is from 1980.
Okay, I don't know.
Are you thinking of the Dungeons and Dragons one?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I wouldn't call that horror.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I don't know, that's why I've never seen it, so...
And the opening of that film, and I believe Mario Bava directed the opening sequence. He let his friend Mario Bava direct it, and it is so well made. The pacing, all it is just this young girl that goes into the sewer, and the whole time you're just being drugged down with her, and you're so terrified. And she loses this pendant in this little, it's like a puddle, but when she dives in there, we find out it's this flooded room, like this old, Victorian room. There's like paintings and stuff, and then there's this door that's trying to open, and trying to get her pendant. And I gotta say, I was freaked out the whole time. I was just like, oh my god, get out of there, get out of there. And then you see this skeleton body float out, and it's already dead, come out of the door, like who knows how long it's been dead. And she sees it, she screams, she's trying to get out, and because there's only a little hole in the ceiling, hits the ceiling, and she's trying to find the exit, and the whole time the skeleton's coming up on her, she's having to push it down with her bare feet. Right. And I gotta tell you, when she pushes it down with her bare feet, I just like, oh my god, because I can just feel it, and that's what horror is all about. And I would have to say that was the last, and that was just a couple nights ago, where I was really terrified.
That reminds me, is not on a movie note, but recently we just finished the Jeffrey Dahmer Monster series that just came out on Netflix. I will say that definitely had a lot of moments that scared me to my core, really, to the way that, because it's real, it happened, and so it scared me in a different way. And man, they do some things that is just really great in there that you would love. Like there's this part in the very first episode, which is, you know what you're going into, so so basically, let's just, I don't know, even remember how it starts, but let's just say, an apartment door opens, and then you see Dahmer leading a dude in there, and say, yeah, just sit down, man, I'll make you a drink. Right? Yeah. As a fan, you're like, ooh, don't go in there, don't drink nothing, You never seen a second of this movie yet, or show yet. And so we go through, and like, it's just all so calm and surreal, and it almost feels as if we're kind of watching this happen. And he goes over to the fridge, he opens the fridge, and they're just talking back and forth, and just right at the bottom of the fridge is just a severed head, just laying on the bottom of the shelf. And if you don't see it, you miss it, and it doesn't matter at all whether you see it or not. But man, when I seen it, like because you're not, at first you're still trying to get yourself ready. You're like, oh man, I know this isn't gonna be good, and then you see that, and you're like, oh no, this is really bad. And my wife didn't even see it, so I had to pause it and go back for it. Again, it's one of those things. It's just so subtle. It's great filmmaking. But it's there, but it's not important. It's not integral, and just a lot of the even when it comes to scares, just a lot of the set design. Like if you go back and you look at the pictures of Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, like where he lived and the room and where his bed was and the dresser, dude, it is like they literally just picked up that apartment. And it is identical. Even where he set the drill, where he was drilling into people's heads and pouring hot water in it, even in places like where he set the drill and where he kept the pictures, and all of that was real. And just that, the verisimilitude of it, the realness of it, just really crept into both of us while watching it, and it was very scary. I know you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, but it is a very scary thing. Let's move on to our next.
Well, real quick, I just want to say something real quick about that. That's a very cool idea, because with most horror, we're left in the dark. And that's what's scary about it, is that we have to sit there and uncover these horrors. Whereas with this Jeffrey Dahmer show, this is such a cool way to approach this, because the horror is the opposite. It's in the poetic irony. It's in the fact that the audience knows more than the characters do. And usually that won't work for horror.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, I knew you would love that, man. I'm telling you, it was what really sucked me in. I will say that as it goes on, it definitely loses its tone because it definitely goes more towards in a good way, because how many Jeffrey Dahmer shows and movies and TVs have we seen? There's probably a ton. And I've seen a bunch of different ones. I mean, I believe there's a Dahmer movie with like some big actor that I remember watching when I was a kid. I don't remember. But yeah, it's really well made, and as it gets on to the end, it sort of delves more into the neighbor of his, which is, a woman of color who called the police all the time, like, I hear him chopping up people, like, I heard a dude get killed, please. And they, because she lived in, the ghetto in a black community, cops didn't care. They didn't care at all. It was more of like we'll call us when there's a body and we'll come get it kind of thing. And the series does a lot by shedding light into the fact that the true reason why Jeffrey Dahmer exists is because of racism, because the fact that he was doing it to people of color, and he was doing it to people that were also, not straight, that were of the LGBTQ community. And back in the 70s and 80s, those were things like, we literally hear a quote from the cop that's an actual quote on his dispatch where he's like, oh, I gotta come back to the station and delouse. Because, he had just interacted with, a couple. And that's how taboo, gay was. And
we're talking about, the AIDS generation where most people were like, well, good, let them die. They're sinful, not understanding what's really going on behind this because they don't want to know. Because they're dehumanizing these people. That's a great point.
Right. And it does a lot to shed the light on it, like I said, is that, and it's something that I didn't know is, he killed 20 people or whatever, and like 18 or 19 of those people were people of color, and it makes so much sense. And the idea that they shed some light on that again to this man that we know in the series we're watching wouldn't exist if it weren't for systematic racism and oppression, and I think that that's awesome. And I do feel like it becomes a little bit of a nail on the head situation, and we're just
hammering home.
Man, we're getting it there, and at some point it becomes like, I get it and I understand, but I'm glad that they're doing it, and it becomes less of that first episode. Like the first 5 or 6 is more of, this is hard to watch kind of feeling. But again, it does so much great things. Like we were talking about back to the Halloween thing, it does so many great things without showing it to us. Every time we hear him killing someone and sawing someone up, we hear it through the neighbor's fence. We can see it through her ears, and just that, you can hear him sawing bone in there, and I don't know what that sound even sounds like, but they do it to where you're like, yeah, that's it, and but do I need to see it? Do I need to see him sawing up bone? No, not even for a split second do I need to see it, because just hearing it through the vents is just bone chilling, and to think too that really happened to a lady.
Someone had to live.
That lady had to live through that existence, and she tried numerous times. I think it was like 78 times.
Is this Washington, D.C.? I can't remember where Dahmer.
This is Milwaukee, I want to say.
Milwaukee?
Yeah, I want to say it's
right.
Milwaukee.
Midwest.
Yeah, and yeah, so it does a lot to, it gets away from being scary and gets more towards that, but I'm glad it does. And if you guys haven't checked out the Dahmer Monster series on Netflix, you should definitely go check it out. What's our next question we got?
Matt would like to know, what would you guys think about a Marvel horror series or movie?
And I see you sending a $4.99 super chat for that, Matt. We really appreciate your support for the channel here. Well, listen, I mean, Marvel already has a couple kind of horror things. We have the Werewolf by Night thing coming out. We checked out. I would consider that horror for sure. Outside of that, I mean, WandaVision kind of fits into that psychological horror kind of element. And then, you know, we got some old Marvel stuff that's horror, like the Old Man Thing movie from 2004. I know most people haven't seen it, but I have, and I enjoy it, and I like it a lot. It's very cheesy horror, but it's fun. I would like to see, you know, we had Sam Raimi come in, and we had to do Doctor Strange 2, and, you know, Doctor Strange 2 wasn't a bad movie, and it had those Sam Raimi, you know, horror moments, but just not quite the same because, you know, we're formulaic, you know, we're in a certain thing he has to do, and, you know, we're not rated R. I mean, back to something that scared you recently or in the past few years, I know you're a huge fan of Drag Me to Hell. That's another great Sam Raimi movie, and I think bringing him in and trying to direct, get some more horror thing is awesome. And I would love to see something that's like full-blown horror in the Marvel Cinematic Universe if we could get it. I just don't think that's something that we would probably ever get. What do you think, Shane?
Didn't Morbius just come out?
Okay, so Morbius is technically a Sony film. It's not technically in the MCU. I actually just seen Morbius like a couple days ago. It's on Netflix. You should check it out. It is not a good movie.
I should check it out.
It is not a bad movie. It feels like a really good, like, early comic book movie, if that makes sense. You know, like how the Fantastic Four was. Like, when we look back on it now, we're like, eh. But at the time, it was like, this is all right. You know, at least I felt that way. And this, it feels, it's got like a weird mid-2000s cheesy feel to it. And I can't stand Jared Leto. I hate Jared Leto as an actor and a human being. And but he did well in it. I mean, the performances are well. It's just it's a little, again, formulaic. It all feels like an origin story type thing. And I think what it lacked a ton was it's a vampire movie. We need blood. You know, there was a spot where he like bites a dude's neck and the dude just like goes like this, and we're like on that shot for like a few seconds before he finally falls over, and not one drop of blood ever comes out. And what I wanted to see was kind of like exactly what they did was like an early comic book 2000s movie, but more like Blade. More like with the gore, give me the blood. Like, if you ever Blade 2 when he jumps in the pool of blood to get back healthy, you know, to fight. Like that kind of stuff, I think, would have really added a lot to this movie, honestly. But yes, we got Morbius. I wouldn't consider it horror. I mean, for what Matt's asking, I would say we're talking about something that's like full-on horror. You know, and I just can't see Marvel doing something like that. Can you?
Well, Marvel has this brand appeal now that you can't really stray away from that now. But, you know, I definitely think it's within the realm of possibility because before Marvel did the superheroes, you know, when we're talking 1940s, 1950s Marvel comics, they were all horror-based. They were monster-based, they were horror-based. And so Marvel's origin is within their monster story. So absolutely. But, you know, Disney owns these properties. They're going to want to keep that brand superheroes probably because they sell. But, you know, maybe down the line when they're digging up. I mean, you asked me 10 years ago, would they make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? I would have said no. And why would you ever do that? So what do I know? They'll probably dig into their resources. They'll find some story that we're all like, okay, don't do that. And it's going to be amazing. And it'll be horror because that exists within the Marvel library. It's in those stories somewhere.
And speaking of, you know, you got Blade coming up with Mahershala Ali. You know, you have that coming out soon. That means Dracula does exist in this world. I mean, we could get a Dracula movie at some point. I love the Tomb of Dracula series, you know, which introduces Blade. I love the idea of, I love comic horror. Like, that's one of my favorite things. And so I love the idea of delving into some of that stuff. But, man, I just kind of feel like it's hard without having, you know, our ratings with some of those things. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about seeing a Blade movie without blood. It just feels weird. Vampires are inherently associated with blood so much that even if you go away from like, well, there's no blood from when we kill people. But they drink blood. They you know, there's just so much to it that involves R rating to me. So, and as we know, it seems like Marvel is definitely never going to go that route. Now, they are going that way with Deadpool 3, so we could see something in the future, maybe.
Although Deadpool already had a R rating.
True.
So they kind of just went with it.
True. Well, yeah, what's our next question? Do we have any more questions?
Lee Laley wants to know what your favorite horror movie of all time is.
Okay, it used to be an easy question. It used to be The Shining, for sure. I mean, it's still up there for me, but honestly, if I'm going... Some days, it depends on what day you ask me. Some days I want to say Halloween. I really do. Some days I want to say Alien. And then nowadays, I mean, I really, really like the movie Climax. Gaspar Noé's Climax. I know it's not something most people have seen. I know it's not something most people want to see. But, God, it's just so good. It's that edge of the seat, psychological horror thriller that you don't almost want to be experiencing, but you can't take your eyes off of it kind of thing. And I love stuff like that because, one thing that you taught me and I've taken to heart and as a film fan is that, good movies should make you feel. And oh man, that movie makes me feel something from beginning to the end and like nothing else does. This is why we love David Lynch the way we do, because is not only can he make you feel, but in a way that you've never felt. And no one else is probably going to make you feel this way. And I love that about it. What else do we got? Do we got anything else?
There's some more chat, but no questions.
No questions? Okay, awesome. Well, I think that'll probably be it for the day, guys. We'll probably wrap up. And we appreciate you guys joining us here. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll be going live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then we'll try to do, pre-show, post-shows when we can for things like Werewolf by Night and Mandalorian and Marvel and things like that. I've been joined today by my co-host, Shane. Shane?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. It really has been. And we look forward to seeing you guys all tomorrow. And thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Lily, Ali, we got a $1.99, no question, but just a super chat. We appreciate the support and all the support for the channel moving forward. We'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good one.